Hi, I'm Eric Bell with Gamefob.com. I'm here with the legendary Kevin Conroy. Thank you so much for meeting with us.
I'm happy to be here.
Great, great. How you like Sacramento?
They fly in to do these things.
Yeah.
I barely get to see much of the city. I've been wandering around a little bit. It's beautiful.
You don't have to
But
lie.
I haven't got, no, it's, the downtown area is really nice. But I haven't explored very far, to tell you the truth.
Okay. Well, I feel obligated to talk to you about the fact that you've played Batman for over 20 years. For my generation, you are going to be considered forever as the voice of Batman.
Thank you.
When you started doing the role, did you ever think that you'll be doing the role as long? And
You know, it's amazing. These kind of things just take on a life of their own. And I don't think anyone associated with it thought it was going to last as long as it did. In fact, when I was going into the audition, it was the first animated show I ever auditioned for. I had done voiceovers, commercial voiceovers, but I'd never done animation. And I was in LA working on a primetime show that I had just finished working on. So I was there, and my agent said Warner Brothers is looking for voices for a new Batman series. Why don't you go over and give it a shot? And when I went in to meet Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and Andrea Romano, the creative team, my only exposure with Batman had been the Adam West series from the 70s. And they said, no, that's not the direction we're going in at all. That was very campy and cartoony. This is very film noir, very dark, very serious. They described the background of the character. His parents were killed when he was a child. He's been raised by Alfred, lives a double secret life. It's a very dark story. And they said, we really want to go very seriously with that. So we're looking not at typical cartoon type voiceover people. We want actors from the theater, from film, who would bring a different take on those characters. So they were going in a different direction. And then they also, which I didn't know at the time, were going to use a black palette to paint on rather than, most animation is painted on clear cells. These were actually painted on a black background. So it gave everything a very dark edge. And I remember the first time I saw footage, because we'd been recording for about 6 months before footage started coming back from the artists. Because you record the material first. It's done like a radio play. And the actors get in a studio together, we're all working together. And you play off each other. But you don't really, they give you sketches of what the character's going to look like, but you don't really know what the show's going to feel like. Because it hasn't been created yet. The voices are going in first. So the first time I saw any footage was about 6 months into it. I was with Mark Hamill, and we were in a studio at Warner Brothers, a sound studio, to do ADR. And ADR is when they sync up the soundtrack with the first artwork that comes back, and they have to clean up extra mouth flaps, changes of lines. They always have to clean up the soundtrack to the visual. And it's called ADR. So we're sitting there in the studio, and this swoosh of full orchestra music comes up, and this beautiful, rich artwork comes on the screen, and this incredible dynamic graphics of the artwork. And I looked over at Mark and I said, did you have any idea that this is what we were working on? And his mouth was hanging open. And he's a real savant about animation. He knows everything about the history of animation. He said, I have never seen anything as beautiful as this. So we were completely blown away. And then, we thought maybe 20 episodes, and then they ordered 20 more episodes, and then they ordered 20 more episodes. So it kept growing, and then it became this cult following show. And then it grew into The Adventures of Batman and Robin, and then the Justice League, and then Batman Beyond. It just kept growing, and transforming into new shows. And then with the advent of the gaming industry, it was a natural fit to use all those characters for these games. And the Arkham City franchise has just been so incredible. So the whole thing's evolved over 22 years. I would never have known that first day I walked in auditioning that it would have turned into this. It's that kind of thing where, you always have to, as an actor, I think you always have to be ready for any possibility. So when you're early, when you're starting out, you train because you never know where your career is going to go. You don't know if it's going to end up being more theatrical or more television or more film or, you know, hopefully you'll work, you know. And with me, after doing a lot of theater and a lot of television, it just went in the direction of voice work, and I ended up doing a lot of voice work.
Wow. And for me, as someone who born in the 80s and grew up in the 90s, so I was very much following the cartoon, and my personal favorite episode was the Clayface episode, the first appearance of Clayface. Do you have, at least when it was on Fox, do you have a particular favorite episode you've done?
Yeah, I mean, for me, my favorite, there are many, there are so many, but I loved the episode Perchance to Dream, which was an episode largely in black and white, which was really daring of them. And it was one where a Batman is drugged, and he, in his drugged state, so I was Batman and Bruce Wayne, and in my drugged state, I go back to my childhood and dream about losing my parents. So I was also young Bruce Wayne and Bruce Sr., my father. And then as he gets more drugged, Batman becomes kind of insane. So there was a kind of a crazed Batman voice too. So I did 5 voices in that one episode. They all had to be related, but they all had to be distinctly different. So for an actor, it was just a real challenge to do. And then I think the story was fascinating. So that was a favorite of mine.
Now, in the decades of people playing Batman, you know, you've said that you've enjoyed a lot of the actors who have played Batman over the years. You've given credit to Christian Bale, Michael Keaton, Adam West. Is there a particular actor that you personally love watching that you felt they just did a great performance, your personal favorite?
I think it was so smart of Warner Brothers to switch it around. You know, you'd think they would have picked one person and had that person just brand it for them, you know. But instead they had different actors do it, and I think that was a really smart idea. Each director who comes to it wants to put their own stamp on it, so they always want to do their own casting for different roles. I think the one who's been the closest to the Dark Knight legend has been the Christian Bale Batman. There's no question. He's in terms of all-round performance, he's the most. I think he embodies the Bruce Wayne character the most, and he's such a talented actor. So I think that's been the best one.
All right. Well,
but they've all been good. I don't want to say anyone's been better than anyone else because I think they've all been good.
All of them?
Yeah, yeah, no, in different ways, you know.
No,
I know everybody has favorites.
Of course.
But they've all been valid. They've all had different strengths and weaknesses.
That's great. You know, with them rebooting the Batman series for the upcoming Justice League movie that they've been talking about, is there a particular actor that you would think would be a good new Batman?
There's this incredible New York actor, Kevin Conroy, who I think
yes, I've heard about that guy.
Everybody's heard about him.
Think he can do the voice right, though?
I don't know. It's a stretch, but no, I don't know. Christian Bale's been great.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you one final thing about your work with the Batman game, the Arkham City, which is still considered one of the best action-adventure games.
It's an incredible game. It's an incredible game. But, you know, I don't know if anyone can really explain to audiences what it's like to record a game. It's so different than acting. You're alone in a booth for 4 hours at a time, and you're just recording line after 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 line, 4 or 5 different takes of each line, and then 4 or 5 different readings of each take. And you don't necessarily know, you're recording in a vacuum. You don't necessarily know the situation that the lines, I mean, they tell you sort of roughly, but depending on the way the game is played, it's going to go in a whole different direction. So you're giving them all these different variables of lines and line readings, and you're alone. So, you know, acting is like a ball game. You throw the ball to someone and they catch it, they throw it back to you. It's no fun to play ball by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you're just bouncing the ball off the wall, you know, that's no fun. Acting alone isn't a lot of fun either. It's when you have someone to react to. Acting is reacting. you know? It's as much about reacting as it about acting. So when you're alone in there, you've got to be your own energy. You've got to be your own inspiration, and you've got to keep it up. And it's very challenging. It's very draining. By the end of the week, I'm just wrung out, you know? So it's a very different kind of, it's not why I became an actor. It's a different kind of a job.
That's incredible, because considering, like you said, you don't have someone to play off of. You have no,
It's totally different than people think it is. It takes a lot of self-motivation and discipline just to keep it fresh and keep it alive and keep it Batman. You know, just keep it up. And literally hour after hour after hour. So it's a different kind of a job. They can't prepare you for that at Juilliard. Let me tell you, it's a whole different gig.
They didn't have that workshop?
They didn't have that workshop.
Well, I guess one final question for the comic book fans. What is your favorite villain from the DC story arc?
Oh, wow. I've liked so many of them. They're so interesting. I have to say Joker, just because of that special relationship he has with Batman, and the special relationship I had with Mark Hamill. Okay. He's a really talented actor. He brings so much to the character. To watch him record, he's got this rubber face, you know, that just transforms. He like devours the microphone. He has so much energy. He's a great guy to work with. But so many of the villains have been, you know, it's a show really more about the villains than about the heroes. The villains are phenomenal. Yeah. So they've all been great. But Mark has that special relationship with Batman.
Wow. So. Well, thank you so much for talking with us. This is Eric Bell at Gamefob and the legend Kevin Conroy.